In this video, we're going to discuss iOS licensing. Now, I know you might be thinking, well, I'm a technical guy. Why do I have to be concerned about licensing? I just tell my IT management, hey, we need IP services code on this particular router, and they go and buy it and hand me the license. And then I go download the iOS and put it on there. Well, things have changed in the last couple of years, and that's why this particular subject is covered at the IC&D2 level. Cisco, historically, has always had a very simple software upgrade strategy, and we went over it when we talked about file management and upgrading the iOS and all of those wonderful processes and procedures just a little bit ago. You download the iOS file, you copy it to the router flash, and you reboot the router or the switch using the new operating system. It's not like Microsoft or Novell or Linux or any of those other software operating systems where you download a service pack or a set of files and you extract them onto the router, and these files do certain things and have different interactions and different combinations. Cisco iOS has always been pretty monolithic. And from an engineering standpoint, that's a pretty good thing, but from Cisco's standpoint, it can be a little problematic. Basically, Cisco had to create a single iOS image for every combination of hardware platform, iOS version, and feature set, IP base, IP services, voice, security, so on and so forth. As you can imagine, if you've ever had to go download a new iOS, it leads to mass confusion. What device do I have? What feature set am I licensed for? What feature set can I download? Will this combination of feature set and device work with my hardware configuration, i.e., do I have enough flash to install this particular iOS? Well, Cisco has changed this, as I just alluded to about a minute ago. With the latest version of the iOS, it's the iOS 15.x train, they have changed all of this to allow for feature set licenses. As it sits now with the iOS 15.x, you have a single universal image that has all of the abilities built into it: advanced IP services, IP base, voice, gatekeeper, gateway, SSL VPN. Everything you can think of is built into the image. You don't have to worry about what feature set the image you have installed has installed in it. You know it's already there. And depending upon the license key that you use, it unlocks certain features within the iOS. So let's say you need IP base and voice. Well, you can unlock just IP base and voice and not have to worry about licensing advanced enterprise services if you don't really need advanced enterprise services. Now, this new licensing setup is very similar to all of Cisco's other product offerings. Their ASA and Call Manager specifically are two items that come to mind with me that I have to deal with on a regular basis. Basically, you purchase your license through a reseller. You receive a pack or a product activation key in your mail or via email. You then take that pack onto Cisco's licensing website and tie it to a product serial number. Then you download the license or the license code and install it on the device. This method of licensing ties a particular license to a particular hardware serial number. So if you have a license code or a license file, you can't take that single license file and run it on every router in your enterprise. It's tied to that one specific piece of hardware. Now, you can gather a summary of the installed and available licenses from the router CLI, which we'll do here in about 30 seconds. And I know you might be thinking, well, gee, I work in an organization and we've got 1,200 Cisco routers scattered across 17 states. How am I supposed to manage licensing on all of those routers? Well, luckily, Cisco has a free piece of software called the Cisco License Manager. It runs on a server in your data center and goes out and talks to all of your routers and switches and talks to Cisco's website and realizes, okay, you've got 1,300 licenses available for advanced IP services. Which of your routers do you want to put those licenses on? And allows you to assign licenses to devices, move licenses between devices, and all the functions of licensing that you'd normally have to do at the command line interface on the router, you can do through the Cisco License Manager. So as promised, we'll look at what this licensing looks like in the real world. This is a router at my day job, and it is in Raleigh, North Carolina. And if we do a show version on this router, we see that it is a 2911. It's got the serial number of the processor board there. It tells us we have X number of serial interfaces. We also have license info, the license UDI, which is the combination of the product ID and the serial number. And it tells us which licenses we have installed, the technology package license information for the 2900 series. And this particular device has IP base, security, and unified communications because it talks to our call manager cluster. So the command you'd use to install a license, for example, you type license, and you can say install or revoke or modify. You can save it off to a separate file on the flash so that if this device ever gets wiped clean for whatever reason, you can restore it. Obviously, we don't have any licenses to install, so I'll do show license and hit enter, and this tells us all of the licenses that are installed, the feature set, if it's active or not active, if we have an evaluation license, so on and so forth. We can also get this in a more easy to read format by using the command show license, and we're going to use the feature keyword, which shows us just the features available and whether or not we are licensed for it. In this case, just like with the show version, it shows that we're enabled for IP base, security, and unified communications, but we could evaluate SSL VPN, Gatekeeper, SNA, Call Manager Express, Unified Communications Video. We could evaluate all those licenses, but they're not enabled, and therefore we just can't use that feature set quite yet until we enable it. And that, my friends, concludes our discussion on iOS licensing.